do reactive metal is cool. Redeem. As we're going to see, we got 1,000 gems. Perfect. And it says code redeem success. Today we're going to be doing a codes tutorial. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically what you can find in any popular game on Roblox. You enter a code and you gain a reward. It could be like an item, like a skin, or it could be currency like coins or gems, for example. So that's what we will be doing today. It's going to be a bit of a lengthy tutorial, to be honest. There's a lot of different aspects we have to work on. But for right now, let's start on the GUI. So right now, we're not going to really work on it too much. We're going to make a basic GUI. So let's insert a screen GUI, a frame. All right. So you can move this around, and the position, you can position it anywhere. And the size, let's actually enter it manually. So we want it scaled. So let's make it like 0.3 and 0.4. So it should be 0.3 comma 0, 0.4 comma 0. This should be good. Let's put it in the middle. Let's drag it. Let's call this codes. And then let's put a text box. This should be where you can enter your code. So let's actually, this will be a bit weird. I don't think you can actually drag it. That will be a bit weird. Okay, so let's go to text box. Let's change the anchor point to 0.5. So it's 0.5 comma 0.5. And then the position is 0.50 and 0.2. All right, let's change the size. Let's make it scaled. So the same thing. Let's make it 0.8, 0.2. All right. Now for the background, let's actually make this black and transparent. 0.5 or 0.6. This should be good. Text box, let's actually make this also black. Actually, we should make this gray maybe. I don't know what will look good, to be honest. Let's actually make this black as well. And yeah, this is good. And let's make the text. Let's make the text color white. Let's make the text scaled. And this should be good. So we can change the text. We can also change the placeholder text, but we can change the text to enter code here. All right. It's not the best looking GUI, but I think it's pretty good. We could make this white actually. I'm not sure. Would it look better if it was white? You know what? Let's leave it like that. Let's leave it. And then let's make a text button. Let's make the text of this text button redeem. Text scaled. Text color is white. Background will be green. And let's definitely make this smaller. So size is 0.5, 0.50, 0.25. Let's make the anchor point 0.5, 0.5. Oops. I don't know what that is. Auto button color, but just ignore that. And let's change the position. Or we can just drag the position. We can drag the button. That's good enough. Let's actually make this smaller. Actually, I don't like how it's so big. So 0.3, 0.15. All right. This is pretty simple. Pretty simple, pretty good. Now let's just make a button to open the codes frame. Text button. Open codes. Actually, instead of this, let's just copy this one right here. Let's rename this opens code or open codes. We should, all right, make this smaller. And by the way, put this outside of the frame outside of the codes frame. And then let's obviously change the text. Codes. So whenever we click on this, we should open the codes frame. So to script this real quick, let's go to the local script. Local codes frame equals script dot parent dot codes. Local button equals script dot parent. Local visible. Or actually, what we should do is button dot mouse button click connect function codes frame dot visible equals not codes frame dot visible. This is a very simple code, and that's because all we're doing is changing the visibility of the codes frame. So if we change this, if we make this invisible by default, well, we're going to still have it visible. And then what we do here is actually make this false. Okay, so it's invisible when we start by default. And it's pretty simple script, honestly. It's nothing much. So there we go. Of course, it's not going to be tweening or animating because I feel like that's a bit too complicated for this tutorial, especially since it's not the main idea of the tutorial. But if you do want to know how to do that, you can definitely look at my older videos. I do have a video about tweening, so go check that out if you want. Anyways, we got the GUI working. Now let's actually make it work. So to make codes, let's say we want a script that stores all the codes and their information. So let's go to service scripts. Service now, as you can see, I already made a script, but let's say you have a brand new script. And let's make a table, a dictionary, let's say, that holds all the codes. So let's say local codes equals this, squiggly brackets, enter. Now we can input all of our codes. So let's do square brackets, quotes. Let's say the first code is release. This is when you release your game and then you have a code. I think that's what games usually do. And then we're going to set this equal to something. Let's actually set this to a table so we can store more information inside this one code. So let's say we want to store a certain amount of information. Let's say we want to store how much currency it gives you or what the currency is. So let's say if it's either coins or gems, or let's say even if it's not that, maybe it's a certain item that it gives you. So what will this give you? So let's say it will give you, so let's put currency, and then we'll set this to equal to coins. All right. And the amount of coins, let's say amount equals, let's say 100. And put a comma here. I think that should be it. You can add more information if you want, but we will be using these two. So for example, and it's not an item. So like, let's say we have another, that might be a bit too confusing for now, but let's say you want another code. You copy and paste this. Let's say reactive metal. Okay, that's bad. Reactive metal is cool. And then the currency is gems. And you get 1,000 gems. That's pretty much it. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. All right. And I think. All right. So let's say you don't want currency and you want to give like a player some items, like whether it be a tool, whether it be a skin. All right, we can do a simpler version of this. So right now we have currency and amount. Let's say you want to give a sword, for example. So give me a sword, let's say reactive metals sword, and then the currency, instead of gems, you would put item. So this is our code word. You can make any code word as you want, as long as you use it in the if statement. We're gonna make down the line in this video. I'll show you how. But basically, you can make it anything, but if you want to stay safe, just make it item. But make sure you use that in your if statement when you want to differentiate between like items and currency. Right. So for our currency, it's either coins or gems. If our currency is item, it just means it's an item. So an amount, it doesn't matter. But we do want to add an object. So what we can do is go to our toolbox and then go to models, linked sword. That's weird. Linked sword with friendly, okay, whatever. Let's say it gives you, let's put this linked sword in replicated storage right here. And then let's do obj equal game.replicated storage.linked sword. This is how you would get the object. So game.replicated storage, because we put it in replicated storage, and linked sword. All right. So these are all of our codes. So we have different types of code that give you different types of things. All right. So these are the different types of uses you can use for your codes system. All right. So what we can do now is make a, you know what? Let's actually start with the GUI script first. So for right now, we're just making the codes. And for this, let's make a local script again inside the codes frame. So it's going to be when you click redeem, it's going to send a remote function to the server, and it's going to check, first of all, if there is a code that matches what the player typed, and if the code hasn't been claimed already by the player. So what we can do is, we're not going to make the entire script in one go. We will need to make like a Leaderstats script and a folder for all of the codes the player claimed. We're going to store all the codes the player claimed in that folder, so we can know whether or not the player has claimed that code. All right, so local mainframe equals script parent. Local redeem button equal mainframe.text button. We can rename it redeem, but let's just leave it as this. It doesn't really matter. So redeem button dot mouse button one click connect function, and then local code entered equals local text box equals mainframe dot text box. So this is the text box. So whenever a player enters something inside this text box, the text of this text box will change. So we want to get the value, or not the value, but the text. So right here, this property right here will change whenever the player changes, whenever the player changes the text. So right here, so whenever, if I like write something here, hello, as you can see, the text changed right here. So we want to get this property. So text box dot text. So as soon as the player presses redeem, we're gonna get the text of this text box, right? So let's now set it back to what's a wizard way it was originally. Enter code here. Enter code here. All right. So now let's make a remote function, because that's what we need. Remote function. We will send it to the server. You want to check if there's a code that matches what the player typed right here. So if it matches any of these codes, then you want to check if the player has already claimed the code. And I think that's it. Obviously, we're gonna need a Leaderstats and a data store script for that. So I'm not sure if I can put it all in one video, but I'll see about it. I'll see about it. But anyways, so now we made a remote function. Let's call this check code. Local check code. Check. Oh wait, this is not the. Oops. This is the wrong remote. This is the wrong local script. My bad. All right. Local check code equals game.replicated storage. Wait for child check code. This just waits for this to load into the game. So check code. Fire, or not, sorry, it's not fire, it would be invoke server, because it's different than a remote event, right? And then you do code entered, and that's it, I think. All right, so now we do want to debounce, we do want to cool down, because we don't want the player to keep on clicking on the redeem button. It might cause a bit of lag, so let's make a debounce. Debounce equals false. So this is basically a cooldown. So if not db, then db equal true, wait 1, db equals false. All right, then let's put this code inside here. All right, now what we want to do is then go back to the server script. This is where we want to get the remote function. So local check code, check code equals game.replicated store that check code the dot on server invoke equals function. So this runs a function while this is invoked, while this remote function is invoked. So we invoked it from the client right here, and then once we invoke it, it's gonna run this function. So what we're gonna do here is pass the code. So code, this is the code that has been entered right here in the text box. So if you can find the code inside this table, so if it's either one of these codes, so if all codes, and then square brackets code, then, so if we can't find this code, we continue. Else, if we can't find the code, then we return, and we return a string. So this will be just an error message. So we can say any error message. So we can just say invalid code, like that. You can really write whatever you want. All right, so now let's continue. If we can find the code, then we want to find if the player has already claimed this code. For right now, let's say we have a folder. Actually, you know what? You know what? Let's make another script right now. Or actually, what we can do is make a new script. Let's call this data script. Data store. Right now, all we need is a player added event. So game.players.player added connect. Oops. Function player. Right. So local codes claimed equals instance.new folder. Codes claimed dot name equal codes claimed dot parent equals player. All right, and along with that, we can also add the leader stats. So local leader stats. Honestly, we can really copy this, to be honest. Just change the name, of course. So local leader stats. Honestly, let's call this L, just so it's quicker. Leader stats. This will make it so it will appear on the player list. So this is a folder, and whatever you put in this folder, whatever number values you put in this folder will appear on the player list. So let's make a coins value, coins instance dot new number value. coins dot name equal coins dot parent equals leader stats. And we'll do the same thing for gems. Gems, and rename this to gems. All right. So just to test this out, let's play and run the game, and let's see all of our stats in the leader stats. And we can also check our folder for codes claimed. So as you can see, we have coins and gems. Pretty simple leader stat script. I made like this type of script like 1,000 times on this channel, so it's nothing new. And then we have this folder called codes claimed. This will hold all of our codes that has been claimed, so we can check whether or not the player has claimed a certain code. All right. So now let's go back to our codes script. Let's call this codes. Code handler. Let's call it code handler. All right. So now let's continue. If we can find the code inside this dictionary we made right here, then if player, or sorry, actually we do need the player parameter here. So basically, let me explain. So player, when we fire this, or we don't fire, but we invoke it, since it's a remote event. When we invoke this remote function from the client, this is the client, to the server, which this is the server, there will be this is a certain player. So this right here is the player that entered the code. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is here by default. Code, this parameter we added by ourselves because we passed it down in invoke server. So by default, this should be already here. Code is the code entered. We pass it on to the remote functions ourselves. So player is a player that entered it. Code is the code the player entered. So if player that code's claimed, find first child. I cannot. First child and code. Then we should do if not, meaning if the player didn't claim it yet. Else we will return another message, and then we'll say you already claimed this code. You already claimed this code. Otherwise, we can continue, and then we can reward the player. So what we'll do, all right. So now we will find the currency in the player's leader stats. So in this case, it can either be coins or gems or whatever leader stats you made it to be. So if it was item, for example, that tells us we will have to give the player an item, not currency. So right now, let's say it's a currency. So we will do if player leader stats, and then find first child. Sorry, it's all codes. Code and currency. I think that should be right. So all codes and the code and currency. This is indexed inside this table right here. So currency will be the string value, and it would be the name of the currency. For example, coins or gems, right? If we can find the currency inside the player's leader stats, then we can continue to reward the player the currency. So what we can just do right now is do copy and paste this. Instead of find first child, let's just do square brackets. I'm not sure if this is right. Player.leader stats. Why is it red? Player.leader stats, all codes code.currency. I'm kind of confused right now. Basically, these two currencies would be inside the player leader stats, so we had to find these two currencies inside the leader stats, or it would be either one of them actually. So it's one, obviously, because it's one code at a time. So player.leaderstats, let's see, all codes, code dot currency. Actually, what we'll do instead is square brackets again. No, it does not. That's weird. Would be with quotes. And I wonder if this would work like this. Like this. Okay, that's odd. All right, so let's do local currency name. Currency name equals all codes. Okay, so player.leaderstats. Currency name. Oops. Currency name. That value plus equals all codes, code, and dot amount. So what we're doing is adding the amount. So for example, it would be 100 or 1000 to the player's leader stats to the player's currency amount. All right. So this is if the reward was a currency. Otherwise, if it was an item, so let's say else, well, let's make an else statement. So what we'll do is if it's an item, then we'll do local object or local tool. Yeah, let's call it object. Object equals all codes, code, like this. Instead of currency, it will be object. So it would be like this, for example, linked sword. So and then let's actually clone this. Clone ob dot parent equal player dot backpack. And if you want it to save after they reset, do object the parent equal player, or actually no, it would be two clones, but so you do object 1 and object 2. Then object 2 would be in the player's starter gear. That's only if you want it to save after the player resets. All right, so there's one clone for the player's backpack, and the other clone for the player's starter gear. That would make it save after the player resets. All right, so now let's go back to the original GUI script, the local script. So since we're returning an error message, we can then set it equal to a variable. So let's do a local message, and then we set it to the remote function when we invoke it. So and here let's return a success message. So code redeemed success. All right. All right, so now what we can do is print right here after the db equals false. We'll do text box dot text equal message wait 1, and then set it back to the default text, which was enter code here. Let's put it in the beginning as well, just so it sets like that by default. Now let's see if there's going to be any errors. So I'm just going to check this real quick. All right, so now let's play. Let's play. So we can comment this if you want. So check if code is claimed already. by player. Check if it's valid code. Check if valid code. And then currency reward. Else this would be item reward. All right, so let us continue with our thing. Now it might break, I don't know, because I'm literally my first ever time making a code system. Not really, but like for this tutorial it's my first time. So let's go on codes. Let's enter, what was the codes again? Reactive metal, redeem, invalid code. Oh wow, that's weird. It says invalid code for some weird reason. So let's go here. Reactive metal is cool. Oh, that's the code. Okay. So as you can see, it worked. It worked somewhat. Well, it actually did work. Literally gave us an error message. So let's do reactive metal is cool. Redeem. As you can see, we got 1,000 gems. Perfect. And it says code redeem success. So we can optimize this a bit. We will do, instead of a wait one here, actually yeah, well, actually let's put this cooldown after the message. All right, actually we probably don't even need the wait anyways. We have wait right here. So right now let's try if it works with the sword. All right, so reactive metal or release. Let's try this one. I think you do have to make it, it is case sensitive, so I will fix that very shortly. And then let's do reactive metal sword. I think it's reactive metal sword. Reactive metals sword. Code redeem success. As you can see, we have this sword. Pretty neat. Just a few fixes though. So instead of code, it is case sensitive. So what we can do is we can do string.lower code. All right, so if we typed it like with all caps, for example, it will still give us the reward. So reactive metal, let's say like that. Oh, that's weird. Reactive. Oh no, it was reactive metals sword. Nope, that's reactive metal is cool. No, it still says. Oh yeah, that's why. If all codes. Oh, it's not this. Okay, yeah, you know what? What you would have to do is make this all non-caps. If you wanna. Yeah, you know what? Let's make it all caps or all non-caps. Reactive metal is cool. Reactive metals sword. All right, now it should work. So even if we did write it in caps, it will still work. Basically, it doesn't have to be case sensitive. That's what should work. So let's say reactive metal is cool. Oh, let me see. Yeah, now it's made an error. That's awesome. So player.leaderstats function all codes currency. String.lower codes. Honestly, yeah, we'll just do string.lower for all of them. So string.lower. Basically for all every time we indexed the code in the dictionary. It is a bit confusing, but you don't have to really do this. It's not completely necessary, but it's just an addition. So reactive metal is cool. Code redeem success, and we got all the gems. So yeah, this is a bit of an addition. You don't have to do this. You can just do it the normal way. Now what we can do, we can start on the codes claimed folder. So what we can do is make a all right, actually we can do it right here. So if not player.codes claimed find for child code, then when we redeem the code, we'll make a new value and we'll put it inside the folder. So local code val equals instance that new bool value code val that name equals string.lower code. I don't know why this is. Oh wait, this is after the redeem. Okay. Well, let's just finish this. So code val dot parent equal player that code's claimed. All right. So let's put all of this right here after it returns, because when it returns, it ends the entire function. So I have to put this before it ends. But yeah, so this should be good. This should be good. All right. So now let's look at our folder when we redeem a code. Reactive metal is cool. Code redeem success. Let's go to our folder, codes claimed, reactive metal is cool. And if we do reactive metals sort in our codes claimed folder. So now if we enter this again, reactive metals sort, you already claimed this code. Pretty neat. So now you might be thinking, okay, well, if the player rejoins, we don't want the player to also claim this code. Pretty simple. Now you just need a data store. So let's go back to our data script right here. So similarly how you would save your coins, you would just save your codes claimed. You'd save all the stuff inside the codes claimed folder. So first, make sure you publish this. Publish. And then go to game settings, security, enable studio access to API services. Save. Now let's make a data store. So local data game dot or game get service. Oops. Data store service. And local data store equals, oh, hold a minute. No, not data. Let's call this data store service. Oops. Data store service. Get data store. And then we can name this data store to anything. So let's call this stuff. I don't know, whatever. All right, so now let's do data store get a sync. This basically loads the saved sync from the player when they load into the game. They use the player's user ID. So let's do player.user ID. And then we can concatenate this with a string. So if we're going to save a specific item, so let's do ... And let's do, for the codes claimed, let's do dash codes claimed. And then we're going to also, this is going to be a table value. So it's going to be basically a list of all the codes the player claimed. and then it's a list. So for every item in the list will be a code that's claimed. It would be a string value, and then we can make a new value from each item in the list, which would be a string value. So now we can copy and paste this. Now for the coins and gems, we could do a you know what, let's just do each one individually, because it's only two. So let's do coins, gems. All right, so then we can set these to a variable. So local claim codes equals local saved coins equal local saved gems equals. If saved coins, then coins that value equals saved coins. If saved gems, then saved gems or gems that value equals saved gems. So saved coins and saved gems would be a number value, would be like a number, and it will be set to the, or the coins value would be set to the number that's been saved from the last time the player played. This is basically simple data store stuff. And for codes claim would be a bit more complicated, not very, but we will just do if claim codes, then if number of claim codes is greater than 0, then basically it's a list, right? And if the list has more than 0 items, basically if the list has at least one code that's claimed, then we can make a value. So local v, or actually not yet, we have to make a for loop. So for I, or what we do, yeah, for I, code name in pairs, claim codes, do local v equal instance dot new will value v dot name equals code name v dot parent equal claim codes. Hold on a minute. Codes claimed would be the original folder. So what we can do is actually rename this to folder, just so we don't get confused. And this claimed codes would be the codes that was saved, or the codes that was claimed but was saved from the last time the player joined. So let's do claim codes, or not claim codes, but codes claimed. Code claimed folder. All right, pretty patata. All right, now we are done the loading of the data. Now let's save it when the player leaves. So game the players that player removing, connect function, player. Let's make a table now. So this is how we saved the claimed codes. So local claim codes equal to a list. Now we go through all of the players claim codes folder in the game. So for I, C in pairs, player that claim codes, get children, do. Since claim codes is a folder, we have to use get children to turn it into a table, and then we're basically looping through the folder, and for each item in the folder we're gonna put the name inside the codes claimed table. So for this table, when we're finished putting all the items in this table, we can then save it, and then as we've seen here, we then loaded it when the player joins back again, and then we loop through it, and then we add it back into the folder. If that makes any sense. I know it sounds a bit confusing, I know, but it is what it is. So table dot insert claim codes, that's the table we're inserting the code name in, and then see that name. So it's a string value we're putting into the table. All right. So now let's do a pcall function, just so if there's an error, it will be contained inside the pcall function, and it won't break the entire data store script. That would be pretty bad. So local success error equals pcall function, and we pretty much use the same function as this, except it would be setAsync. getAsync is basically when you're loading into a game. setAsync is basically when you're saving when you're leaving a game, or it doesn't have to be when you're leaving a game. It can be when you're just saving a game. So data store setAsync, player.user ID, and then we use, of course, the same key for each of the values we're saving. So in this case, if it's the codes claimed, we'd do codes claimed, and then the value, of course, we're saving the claimed codes table that we're loading in when we're joining back again, like what I explained earlier. And then now just for the gems and the coins. So we do the same thing, except it's going to be more simpler. Coins, gems. Just make sure you spell it the same as you spelled it when you join the game, like that. And then instead of claims code would be player.leaderstats.coins, and then player.leaderstats.gems. Let's just make a, so if there's an error, then warn error. All right. So far it should be working completely fine. So now let's test everything out once and for all. So codes claimed. Let's go to our folder. Let's claim reactive metal is cool. Redeem success. As you can see, we have this code. Let's leave. Oops, an error. So code is not a value of recur. Oops, codes claimed code. It's codes claimed, not claimed codes. My bad. So you'd data store 50. Yeah, it's just a small error. Codes claimed, codes claimed, codes claimed. All right. All right. I think that should be the only error we're facing right now. So hopefully when we try it again, because I put the wrong name. It's codes claimed, not claim codes. I've just been messing around, bro. My brain is all like confusing me right now. So reactive metal is cool. And as you can see, this is the code. Now let's leave and hopefully it works. Boom. Cannot store instance in data store. Oops, I forgot. It's that value. So, oops. That value, the coins is an actual instance. It's an object basically. You can only store values like number values or string values. So it has to be value. That was my mistake. Again, and the table, you can also store a table. That's fine. Because it's not a lot of memory. So that's completely fine. All right, so now let's test this once and for all. Reactive metal is cool. Redeem. Oh, it actually worked. Yeah, the codes claimed table already worked. It's only the gems and stuff didn't work last time. But let's say, since we only have one code claimed, let's do the other code, reactive metal. So that will work because that's an object. What was the release? Yeah. All right, release. Now let's leave. And if we join back, all right, no error codes. That's perfect. Now if we join back, and we have both of these codes in our codes claimed folder. So if we do release again, it will say you already claimed this code. Pretty simple. Now, this is pretty much all there is to it. Now, obviously, there's a lot. There is a lot. I'm not gonna be messing around, but it's a lot. You guys are probably just confused right now. But I think I really covered everything. You know, it's long, but I covered pretty much everything. How to store the codes claimed, how to reward a player either a currency or item. Now, I didn't teach you how you can save the items, like the tools inside the player's backpack, but I did definitely make a tutorial on that way back then. So if you are interested in saving a player's items or tools, be sure to check that video out. I'll link all the videos that I talk about in the description, so don't worry. Hopefully, if I remember, I will link it in the description down below. But I think there's not much to it. If there is something else that I want to add to it, I'll definitely make a part 2 for sure. Let me know if there's any suggestions you want in the comments below. Join our Discord server. If you want the, let me see, if you want the actually, you know what I might do, if you want the game files that I'm using or the models, be sure to check out my Discord server. I might be you know, putting it on there. Hopefully, I'm not sure. I'll decide whether I'll do it or not. I'll decide whether that's a good idea. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely a lengthy video. I don't know how long I've been recording for now. But yeah. So check out my Discord server. I might be putting my game files and models there. I'll list all my models as well, actually, because some of them are on the Roblox toolbox. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to like and subscribe so this video reaches more people. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.